You were sitting in a meeting, or perhaps at your desk, reading an email. Someone has just praised your work. They've called it brilliant, insightful, a game changer. For a fleeting second, a warmth spreads through your chest. But then, almost immediately, something else takes over. A voice, barely a whisper, slides into your mind and says, "If they only knew. If they knew how little I actually know. If they knew I was just lucky." Any moment now, they're going to figure it out. And in that moment, the success feels like a lie, the praise feels like a trap, and you feel like a fraud. This feeling has a name. It's called Imposter Syndrome. But to call it a syndrome is almost too clinical, too neat. It doesn't capture the visceral, daily reality of it. The truth is, it's like being an actor on the grand stage of your own life. You've been cast in the lead role, the competent professional, the talented artist, the loving partner, the good parent. You have the costume, you've memorized the lines, you know all the blocking. From the audience's perspective, your performance is flawless. But backstage, in the quiet dressing room of your own mind, you are trembling. You are convinced that you are just an understudy who snuck onto the stage, and that at any moment, the real, truly qualified star of the show will walk through the door, point a finger at you, and the entire world will see you for what you believe you are, an imposter. You live with a constant low-grade fear of being exposed. Every new project, every promotion, every compliment is not a confirmation of your worth, but another layer of pressure, another line to memorize, another chance to be found out. It is an exhausting, lonely, and profoundly painful way to live. It steals the joy from your achievements and replaces it with anxiety. It makes you believe that the love and respect you receive are conditional, based on a performance that you can't possibly maintain forever. If this feeling of being an actor on your own life stage resonates deep within your soul, if that quiet fear of being found out is a familiar companion, then take a moment to subscribe to Mind Decode Explained. Here, we walk through these hidden corridors of the mind together. We don't offer simple answers, but we explore the deep questions that lead to true self-understanding and healing. The first thing you must understand is that this feeling is not humility. Humility is having a grounded, accurate assessment of your abilities. It's knowing your strengths while also acknowledging your weaknesses. Imposter syndrome is the opposite. It is a persistent, painful, and often complete denial of your strengths, and a gross exaggeration of your weaknesses. You see your successes as flukes, products of luck, timing, or tricking people into thinking you're better than you are. But you see your failures, even the smallest ones, as irrefutable proof of your underlying fraudulence. It's a cognitive distortion, a funhouse mirror that reflects back a warped and diminished version of who you truly are. Where does this mirror come from? For many, the seeds are planted in childhood. Perhaps you were the smart one in your family. A label given with love, but one that created an impossible expectation. You must always be smart, always get it right, effortlessly. The first time you struggled, the first time you didn't know the answer, that little voice of doubt was born. Maybe I'm not actually smart. Maybe I've just been fooling everyone. Or maybe you grew up in a household where achievement was everything. Love and approval were tied to your grades, your awards, your performance. You learned a dangerous equation. Achievement equals worth. The problem is, the goalposts for achievement are always moving, so you are left on a perpetual treadmill chasing a feeling of worthiness that is always just out of reach. The psychologists Dr. Pauline Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes, who first coined the term in the 1970s, initially believed it primarily affected high-achieving women. But we now know it is a universal human experience, cutting across gender, profession, and background. It thrives in environments that are competitive, that worship perfection, and that fail to normalize the process of learning, which, by its very nature, involves not knowing, making mistakes, and asking for help. This brings us to the engine that drives the entire machine of imposter syndrome: perfectionism. The inner critic of the person with imposter syndrome is not just a critic, it's a tyrant. It sets impossibly high standards, And then when you inevitably fall short, it uses that failure as a weapon against you. See, I told you you weren't good enough. You believe that if you could just work harder, prepare more, be more perfect, then this feeling would finally go away. But you are caught in a cruel paradox. The relentless pursuit of perfection is the very thing that guarantees you will always feel like a failure. It's a game rigged against you from the start, and the only winning move is to refuse to play. So how do you stop playing? How do you walk off this terrifying stage and start living as your authentic self? The journey begins with a profound shift in perspective. It's a shift that psychologist Carol Dweck frames as moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. A fixed mindset believes that intelligence and talent are static, innate qualities. You either have them or you don't. In this worldview, every task is a test, every challenge a risk of being exposed as someone who doesn't have it. This is the native language of imposter syndrome. A growth mindset, on the other hand, believes that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. In this worldview, challenges are not threats, but opportunities to learn and grow. The phrase, "I don't know," is not a verdict of failure, but a starting point. It is followed by the most powerful word in the vocabulary of healing. Yet. I don't know this. Yet. I'm not good at this. Yet. This simple word transforms everything. It turns the terrifying finality of failure into a gentle, compassionate invitation to learn. This is the first step, to consciously adopt the language of yet. The next is to change your relationship with that critical inner voice. For your entire life, you have treated that voice as the oracle of truth. You've believed it when it told you that you were a fraud. The healing comes not from trying to violently silence that voice because you can't, but from learning to see it for what it is, a scared, overprotective part of you. It's a primitive defense mechanism, trying to protect you from the perceived shame of failure by convincing you not to try in the first place. When you hear it whisper, "You're going to fail, you're not good enough," instead of letting the panic take over, you can learn to pause, take a breath, and respond with compassion. I hear your fear. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I am going to try this anyway. It's okay if I make mistakes. You become the calm, reassuring parent to the frightened child within you. You stop fighting the voice and start leading it. The third and perhaps most courageous step is to break the silence. Imposter syndrome thrives in isolation. It convinces you that you are the only one who feels this way. The shame keeps you from speaking your truth. But as the researcher Brené Brown has taught us so powerfully, shame cannot survive being spoken. When you find a trusted friend, mentor, or therapist, and you say the words out loud, "I feel like a fraud, and I'm terrified of being found out," something magical happens. The monster that seemed so enormous in the darkness of your own mind shrinks in the light of human connection. More often than not, the person you tell will look at you with recognition and say, "Me too." And in that "me too," you realize you are not an actor alone on a stage. You are part of a vast, beautiful, and perfectly imperfect human ensemble. Start an evidence log. This may sound simple, but it is a powerful way to fight the brain's natural negativity bias. Get a notebook or a document on your computer, and every time you receive a piece of positive feedback, every time you accomplish something you're proud of, write it down. When the voice of the imposter starts its litany of your failures, you can open that document and confront it with the undeniable data of your competence and your effort. You are not arguing with the feeling. You are simply reminding it of the whole truth. Remember that the goal is not to one day feel 100% confident and free of all doubt. That is a perfectionistic fantasy. The true goal is to have the courage to act despite the doubt. It's about letting the feeling of fear be in the car with you, but refusing to let it have its hands on the steering wheel. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is being afraid and doing it anyway. The actor who believes they are an imposter spends their whole life waiting for the applause, dreading that it will stop. But the person who is healing learns that the applause was never the point. The point is the joy of the craft, the connection with the other actors, the vulnerability of sharing a human story with the audience. The healing is complete not when you finally believe you are a flawless star, but when you accept with grace and self-compassion that you are a real person standing on a stage, doing your best. And you can finally take off the mask, not because you've become perfect, but because you've realized you never needed it. You can take a bow, not as the character you were playing, but as yourself, complex, flawed, and learning. And you will feel the warmth of the lights on your face, and you will hear the sound of the applause. And for the first time, you will know that it is for you. And the feeling will not be fear. It will be freedom.